Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Miller Hall of Fame Tennis Championships. Before introducing the inductees to the Hall of Fame, I would like to recognize a few people. The founder of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, James H. Van Allen. A member of the Hall of Fame and a director of the Hall of Fame, the great writer from the New York Times, Allison Danzig. Vice President of the U.S. Tennis Association, Hunter Delator. And the Vice President of the Hall of Fame, John Davis, whose grandfather donated the Davis Cup. The Treasurer of the Hall of Fame, William Fitzgerald. And certainly one of the great friends of tennis for a long, long time, Joseph Coleman. And the President of the Hall of Fame, our good friend, Mr. William McCHESNEY Martin.
This is another happy event in the life of the Tennis Hall of Fame here in Newport. With today's enshrinees, we will have inducted 113 people in the 26 years that we've been having these events. And we have stored the memorabilia, and the past history of tennis in a museum which we think is worthy of your following, and we hope you will give us our support and your continued interest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. And now, the first enshrinees to be put in the Hall of Fame in 1980, the Doherty brothers. Reginald Frank Doherty and his younger brother, Hugh Lawrence Doherty, formed one of the great doubles partnerships in the history of tennis. Together, they won Wimbledon from 1897 through 1901 and 1903 through 1905. The U.S. doubles in 1902 and 1903, and Reggie won the Wimbledon singles from 1897 through 1900. Laurie won from 1902 through 1906. Accepting for the Doherty brothers, a gentleman that has been a longtime friend of tennis and very closely identified with the game of tennis, Mr. Ted Tinling. Mr. Tinling will receive the plaque from Mr. Robert Day, Executive Director of the Tennis Hall of Fame. Thank you. Teddy?
Mr. President, Bill, as Bill said, my qualifications for representing the Dohertys are at best abstract, and they derive primarily from the fact that I have not been able to trace any descendants or relatives of the Doherty family. I think a few specifics may be interesting at this time. There were three brothers. The two who are being enshrined today were the two younger of three, and the elder brother made history a little later on. As Bill has told you, they were supreme in their era, and the other reason why it's totally appropriate for them to be enshrined here is because they were the first ever non-Americans to come here in 1902 and win the American Championship doubles, and in 1903, when the younger Doherty had won Wimbledon, he came back and became the first ever British non-American player to win the U.S. singles. All this happened right here in this wonderful setting. But I think primarily the link that is so vital is that the Dohertys are remembered for being great, great gentlemen. They were the epitome of good sportsmanship, the epitome of charm, and had wonderful charisma, which has percolated through the years of history. Well, all these same things could be said about the Hall of Fame and Newport Casino. This place enshrines all those qualities which make sportsmanship so valuable, particularly nowadays, and the fact that the Dohertys were perhaps the first great ambassadors based on chivalry and good sportsmanship should be enshrined here, where these gentlemen looking at you have also made a place famous for those same vital qualities, is totally, totally appropriate. Going back to the third brother of the Dohertys, the eldest, he, in fact, also enshrined his brothers by donating the gates of the present Wimbledon club, through which every competitor of Wimbledon has to pass. The Doherty gates were given by the elder brother in 1931, and it was he that I had the privilege of meeting, and that is my one excuse for representing him here and accepting this enshrinement certificates today. Otherwise, I feel extremely humble and hope very much that any small part I can play in continuing these wonderful traditions of the Dohertys and the Hall of Fame under the guidance of Mr. McCHESNEY Martin and the original idea of James Van Allen will be my dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you on behalf of the family. I'm sure were they here, they could wish for no greater honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted Tinling. The first royal inductee into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, the late King Gustav V, virtually introduced tennis to Sweden after he learned the game during a visit to England in 1878 as Crown Prince. He founded Sweden's first tennis club and patronized the sport in every way, even as he developed into a skillful and enthusiastic player himself. In 1936, he donated the King's Cup for international competition. It has been sought annually by 15 to 20 European national teams. Accepting for King Gustav V, a gentleman that also is very dear to us in tennis, the president of Volvo North America, Mr. BJORN AHLSTROM. Face this way.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Bill. I am deeply honored having been chosen to accept this great recognition on behalf of the late King Gustav. I don't know why they picked me, but as a piece of information, I can advise you that the name of the first king of Sweden some 1300 years ago was Björn. And there is another more recent King Björn of Sweden who may have not enjoyed winning 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles had it not been for the foundation laid by King Gustav from 1880 over 70 years until the early 50s. He established, introduced, and supported the early years of tennis in Europe, and without him, I don't think European tennis would be what it is today. On his behalf, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bjorn. In 1953, when both were 18, Ken Rosewall and Lou Hoad burst upon the tennis scene by defeating the U.S. for the Davis Cup and winning the Wimbledon and French doubles. Rosewall also won the Australian and French singles that year. Ken Rosewall stayed at the top of tennis for 25 years, winning every major championship but Wimbledon. 4 times he played in those finals and 4 times was frustrated. In 1954 and 1956, and in the era of open tennis in 1971 and 74. He won the U.S. title in 1956, and again 14 years later, and played in the finals at age 40 in 1974, a year that he was also in the finals at Wimbledon. Accepting for Kenny, certainly a gentleman that needs no introduction in the world of tennis, the great captain, great coach of the Australian Davis Cup team for so many, many years, and winning years, I might add, Harry HOPMAN. Harry is also a member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Hop?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a little disappointed that I'm here to take this for Kenny. I'm delighted to do it, but when you think that Ken and Lou were Australia's wonderful tennis twins from the time they were about 14 years of age and became Australia's Davis Cup heroes, you can imagine how delighted I would be, and I'm sure you would be, to see them here together today. Kenny was a wonderful boy tennis player from the age of 10. Lou wasn't so good at that age. But from about 14 years on, Lou was a greater player than Kenny for the years that he was at the top of the tree. And don't forget, please, when Lou was at the top of the tree, he was one of the all-time great players. He was a marvelous player. Kenny, your record has been told to you by Bill, but one thing I would like to point out was that the French thought Kenny was marvellous because he won their championship, considered a very, very difficult championship on red clay to win at any time. He won that when he was 18, and that record held until the super Swede, Bjorn Borg, came along about 1974 and won it a few years younger than the age that Kenny won at 18. I repeat, it's a pleasure to receive this trophy, not only to be here on Kenny's behalf, but to be here and see Lou Hoad getting back into best tennis health. And Lou, I take this opportunity with a lot of other tennis players of hoping that you get back onto the tennis courts and play some of the game of tennis you used to play. Thank you very much.
We received this cable from Kenny. It says, "Sincere apologies for not being able to attend the ceremony. Thank all of you for my selection to the Hall of Fame. Good times to all. Regards, Ken Rosewall." Lou Hoad's career was shortened by a back ailment, but not before he had reached the top of the game with Wimbledon victories in 1956 and 1957. In 1956, his attempt at the Grand Slam was thwarted by his compatriot Rosewall. In addition to many championships in singles and doubles, Hoad also won 17 out of 21 Davis Cup matches. As partners, Hoad and Rosewall won the Australian, French, Wimbledon, and U.S. doubles titles during those years. With Lou standing next to him on his right is his very lovely lady, Jennifer Hoad. And Lou, will you come out here and accept your trophy and...
Hang on to the button.
No, just hold it.
Just hold it. Right. Mr. President, Bill, Harry, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say that it's a great pleasure to be here today. I'm only sorry that my sparring partner from a few years ago, Kenny Rosewall, couldn't be here, but I'm sure that he'll be thinking of it and maybe even watching it on the TV. I'd just like to say that it's a pleasure to be back here today because this place brings back a lot of memories for me. It seems now that when I was here anyway, that goes back a long time, to about 1954, that I always seem to be paying out money, not like today when they all seem to be getting the checks. With old Harry here, he used to fine me for not shaving and holding the fork the wrong way or something like that. But anyway, all those days are gone now, and I just feel that it's been a great honor, and I'm very happy to be here today, and I thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lou. There is one gentleman sitting back there in the box who was the moving force in building the National Tennis Center at Flushing Meadow. Slew Hester, would you please stand up? Ladies and gentlemen, Slew Hester. We are ready for the tennis. Thank you all very much.